Back home on the last trade yesterday, the market witnessed a sharp sell-off in the last hour of trade courtesy ITC. The Nifty and the Sensex tanked about 1%, though the Nifty managed to hold on to the 10,800 mark, very close to the 20 and 200-day moving average. The Sensex ended above the 36,100 mark. The Nifty bank share over 230 points, dragged by some key overweights. The mid-caps, they slightly outperformed. It is Thursday, we have a lot of results, and the Nifty Bank weekly options expiry. For all the other cues, we have Ekta joining us. Good morning, Ekta.
Hi, morning, Mangalam. Well, like you mentioned, in fact, yesterday the markets did slip in the last hour of trade, and it was really one of the reasons was because of ITC, in fact, dragging the markets lower after the numbers came out, despite the fact that the numbers were largely in line with estimates. So now the Nifty is at the cusp of its 20 as well as 200-day moving average, which basically converge at levels of around 10,829, 828 respectively. In terms of flows, the FIIs net sold around 775 odd crores. DIIs almost mitigated it at around 583 odd crores. Nothing decisive which is coming out in terms of the flow picture from the FII stable, considering that it's a bit choppy when it comes to the FII net sells and buys. But nonetheless, in terms of what's taking place on an overall basis, even last week we had a marginal move which came in on the index on an overall basis as compared to the globe. And that's what you can see at current reckoning as well, where the MSCI India index is just about lower by around 0.5% in Asia ex-Japan at yesterday's close was at least down around 0.2%. Now, in terms of the cues today, the US markets, yes, they did close higher. We have Asia, which is a bit mixed at this point in time. So there is some concern about, the US-China trade war. And we have crude, which is at $61 per barrel. So there's a little bit of softness which took place. But overall, things seem to be quite stable on the global front. And the SGX is indicating that it's probably going to be a positive start for us. Domestically, we also have news about the interim finance minister Piyush Goyal, who's going to be taking over Mr. Arun Jaitley's portfolio, and he's going to continue to be a minister without a portfolio. So that would be important news to track from a domestic point of view. Now, in terms of levels to watch out for, the 20-day moving average, 200-day moving average, like I mentioned, would be the next port of call on the downside would probably be 10,812, which would be the 100-day moving average, and watch out for the 50 DMA as well. In terms of cues, you did mention Nifty bank options expiry today. Earnings, we have Bharti Infratel, Interglobe, which will be reacting to numbers, Pidilite, USL, which will be reacting, and heavy day in terms of numbers as well. Ultratech Cement and Yes Bank. Yes Bank would, I think, be the most important number to watch out for. Separately, Biocon, Colgate, PVR, all of these stocks would be coming out. Reliance Power, Emphasis, NIIT, Pfizer, Edelweiss, Syntex.
Okay, Ekta, so that was about a whole host of earnings that are expected today as well as the macro cues. But would you want to elaborate a bit more on the stocks that have been focused today?
Yes, in fact, I'll start with a couple of result reactions. So we have Bharti Infratel, which will be in focus. Net profit was up 8 odd %. Revenue was just about flat for the quarter, and margins were maintained at 41%. Interglobe, where the net profit obviously was a disappointment. It came in at 191 crores. Versus 761 crores. SL Propack, net profit up 13.5 odd %. Pidilite, net profit down 8.2%, revenue up around 20 odd %. United Spirits, the revenue was up around 10.5 odd %. The gross margins were flat at 47% due to higher raw material costs. Ujjivan was in focus. NII up 32%, no complaints actually coming in there. And the gross NPA, in fact, on an absolute basis was lower Q-on-Q. Relcom, net loss 105 crores versus a profit of 1,306 crores. There was some announcement from Relcom as well. And a couple of other earning reactions would include Hathway, Everest, Navin Fluorine, Thirumalai Chemicals. Vodafone in focus. Board has approved raising 25,000 crores via rights issue. Raymond, this came during market hours, but I would still watch out for it. They've received the Maharashtra RERA registration for development of phase 1 of 20 acres of land. Infosys partners with HP. Dana Bank plans to sell 14 properties worth 463 crores identified as non-core assets. Bharat Financial completed its 6th direct assignment transaction at 832 crores in FY19 to a large PSU. Persistent Systems is going to consider a buyback. Island FS Transport, there's a default in payment an interest due on an NCD. So I would just watch out for more news on that. IDBI Bank, Moody's upgraded the outlook to positive. Relcom, like I mentioned earlier, asset sale proceeds, they are not going to make an installment payment on an NCD, which is due on 7th Feb. They've also said asset sale proceeds will be used to repay debt, including NCDs. So that stock will be in focus on account of numbers and this news as well.